Hello, travelers. My name is Thomas the Human Bard. I am joined today by...
Mercy, the Tiefling Wizard.
Onog, the half-orc barbarian.
And Bean, the rock gnome rogue. And Thomas, you forgot to say where we are. The wonderful, the terrific Copperfoxinn.
Well, I would have said that if we were there, but today we're actually on a side quest. It's a side quest. We're off on a side quest.
Right.
Yeah, get
Guys,
that bag off your head, Bean.
Yeah, why
Look
have
around.
you've been walking around with that bag on your head for hours?
I have a zit, and I don't want anyone to see it.
Oh, no, I'm sure it's not that bad. Come on, take off the bag.
No,
No, come on, it's
last
okay.
time I was a bean last time,
Bean.
and I've only been slowly turning back into a person.
Bean, we accept you no matter what. Take the bag off. Let us see.
Okay.
Let us see.
Oh, put it back.
Oh, okay, here. Hold on, let me put that bag back on my
No,
head.
thank you.
It's a little ASMR for you.
That was completely unusable.
I don't know, guys. They look fine to me.
Yeah, the waveforms are only off the charts as I crinkled a piece of paper into the microphone.
It was bad.
Is that what you did? I couldn't tell.
Stop, she's already dead. Today's side quest, we're going to be looking into 2020 Unearthed Arcana, Subclasses, Part 1. But for us, it's Part 3 because it's our third episode of Part 1, which isn't confusing. And we're all here because I think at this point, we're just probably going to bump Unearthed Arcana up to, I guess it's
You took a really long pause after the word bump, and I got nervous.
We're going to bump Unearthed Arcana side quests up to basically being mainline episodes, because
Yeah, this is just
They're
a
just so
UA
many.
channel now.
there's so many of them. It's basically homebrew. It's just homebrew by professionals. It's professional homebrew. And on this episode, we're going to be discussing the Paladin Oath of the Watchers, a new subclass option for paladins in this Unearthed Arcana Subclasses, Part 1.
So-
if you don't watch this on YouTube with your eyes, every once in a while just check in. Sometimes I put I put a tiny bit of work in, which is more than I can say for most of the episode.
Thomas puts actually a very decent amount of work into each episode. He photoshops penguins in armor and makes little animations, and he doesn't want to admit the heart and soul he puts into each episode, but it deserves a lot of love.
Some of that was Mercy, who also deserves love for that penguin, I believe. That was mostly Mercy. But a lot of the other ones, yes, you are
Most
correct.
of it's
I do
Thomas.
most of it.
And he starts everyone going, I'm not gonna do that much to this one. I just gotta get it out. And then he stays up the entire night animating precious
Paladin
things.
Oath of the Watchers! Paladins who vow the Oath of the Watchers seek to protect the mortal realm from the predations of extraplanar creatures, many of which can lay waste to mortal soldiers. Thus, the Watchers hone their minds, spirits, and bodies to be the ultimate weapons against such threats. Paladins who follow the Watcher's Oath are ever vigilant in spotting the influence of extraplanar forces, often establishing a network of spies and informants to gather information on suspected cults. To a Watcher, keeping a healthy suspicion and awareness about one's surroundings is as natural as wearing armor in battle.
So these are the Mad-Eye Moody's of the paladins.
Sort of, yeah. They're sort of the constant vigilance. They're very much about keeping everyone in their lane. They're like, you're from the Nine Hells, stay there. You can stay there and we won't bother you, but don't come here.
The two things that immediately come to my mind are Vigilance of Stendar and Skyrim.
Sure.
It reminds me of it a bit. But also, I'm currently reading the Wheel of Time series.
Yeah.
And so when it's keeping an eye out for cults and otherworldly influences, I think of the White Cloaks, and that
Which
does
is kind of
put
a
me
bad
off.
look.
That's
yeah.
not a good look.
Because they're sort of a Spanish
hunter,
Inquisition.
yeah.
Which honestly, though, if you have a network of spies and you're looking for any cult activity, maybe you can have a Paladin Oath of the Watchers who's a little bit less of a good paladin, more of hunting out demons wherever they glide, and maybe he's not always right about it.
Mm.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting that you bring up the concept that this could be an evil paladin. Because it was something I was reading through the Tenets, which normally I ignore because the base rules, the player's handbook rules for the Tenets on certain paladin subclasses, the ones for the old one or the nature paladin.
Ancients.
The Oath of the Ancients. That's what it is. Their tenets are
old ones, ancients, elderly, whatever it is.
I mean, that's
Oath of the Elderly.
It's all the same. because tenets are the things that the paladin lives by and are the real thing that if they break, because paladins don't explicitly have a god they worship like clerics, they have the tenets that they follow, and if they stop following those tenets, then they no longer are a paladin, kind of a thing.
Or they are an Oathbreaker paladin.
Or they become an
Yeah.
Oathbreaker if you want to.
If you
want to
that
deal with that
direction.
sandwich.
Sure.
Also, if anyone in the audience wants to make an Oath of the Elderly paladin, I will review the cheddar out of that. So please, like...
Anyways,
the Oath
the
of
thing
the
I was talking about.
Geriatrics.
Yes.
But yeah,
the
and so the
boomer.
tenets for the...
Oath of the Boomers. Come on, Mercy. What are you doing?
Boomer Blade.
Hey, Onog, how's it going?
Hey. So,
I
the
was
thing I
already-
have been desperately trying to say for 20 minutes
Okay, go for it.
is so the tenets for the Oath of the Ancients is like, don't let your fire die out. Let your spirit roam and glow and be a light to everyone else. And it's like, okay, cool. I can do whatever I want, is what that says.
That's
Yeah.
so vague that I can justify any course of action.
Yeah,
to try
but
to
then
break.
then the tenets of the Watchers are interesting. So there's vigilance. The threats you face are cunning, and powerful and subversive. Be ever alert to their corruption. A thing to do. Be alert.
If you
Do this.
ever go to sleep, the DM can say you're an Oathbreaker.
You are now an Oathbreaker. No, but then the one that gets me kind of is loyalty. Never accept gifts or favors from fiends, or those who truck with them. Stay
truck.
true to your order, your
Truck
comrades,
with
and your duty.
This
So
is
this
interesting
is
word choice.
Truck
yeah,
with
that's
them.
that's probably a typo.
Look,
I feel
I
like
never
it has to
drive
be.
faster than I can see. It's all in the reflex.
But anyways, that's like such a specific tenet of like, don't accept gifts from fiends, especially when like this whole thing is about outer worldly creatures, you know, and
Extraplanar.
not just fiends. Yeah, extraplanar things like elementals and fae and celestials and fiends.
Yep.
But it's like, but don't mess with fiends.
Specifically.
Explicitly.
So-
Also, don't talk to them. Don't accept gifts, even if they're just like, you want an apple? It's like, if I did that, I would change my class.
I like that it's specifically, really specifically, like, don't accept gifts or favors, because, like, with fiends or those who truck with them. Because if you have a warlock who's a pact of, like, a fae, archfae, or whatever, patron, that's fine. But if you have a warlock who has a fiend patron, and they're like, hey, man, I want to give you this birthday present, you have to be like, no! I can't!
Be gone with you.
I'll protect you in battle, and we'll work
Now-
together, but I can't accept gifts!
Is it okay if you take it and you re-gift it to someone?
The warlock can never take the help action because now they've given them a favor.
If you if you accept the gift, is it fine as long as you return it for store credit later?
As long as
Like
you get the
you
receipt.
can take it if you have the express idea of like, I'm not actually gonna take this. Like the next kid's
I'm gonna
birthday
throw
party
it
that comes
away.
around, I'll give it to someone else. I
Sure.
have a friend who's really spooky and goth, and they'll love it. You know.
I think it's interesting that they chose the word loyalty for that one, because that isn't, when I saw loyalty the first time I read through this, that isn't what I then thought it would say. It's just kind of an odd
Yeah.
thing to call that, but I don't know what else you would call it,
I mean,
you know.
in the design space of pick a single word that can be a
Exactly.
tenet, it's like hard to find the
Yeah.
right one. But it works fine, I guess.
Call it click, call it exclusionary,
Also, really quickly,
unacceptable.
the
Gang.
word truck
Yeah.
can mean to
No, I know what I know
a
what
large
can
truck.
mean to
But
like go along with people and to travel and traverse with them and to like be friends with them. I get
Proceed,
that.
it can mean a proceed in a casual or leisurely way, but in archaic terms, it actually means specifically to barter or exchange with.
Oh.
So it's the same. Gotcha.
Good call, good call.
Gotcha. Okay. But
was
mostly
really
it means
important.
trucking. Like if you get in an 18-wheeler with the demon, you're not allowed.
Or if you kind of walk in that hokey dance way where you're swinging your finger around in like a swing dance way, that move is
What?
called trucking.
Oh,
Anyway.
see, I didn't know that. Yeah, sorry.
Bean, do you do a lot of swing dancing?
Yeah, I do.
That's fun.
I'm really light. I can get swung around like
She's
really
a,
easily.
She's a swing bean.
a what?
Yes,
swing
I'm a
bean.
swing bean.
She's a
That's
swing
terrible.
bean.
I hate that so much. Swing
not a joke.
bean. It's a
not
string
even-
bean, but it's like a
It's not
baby
even a
string
pun.
bean.
It's not even close.
But it's so fun to say. Yay!
So the third tenet is discipline. You are a shield against the endless terrors that lie beyond the stars. Your blade must be forever sharp and your mind keen to survive what lies beyond.
Let that
I feel like
blanket
that's
dull.
the same of vigilance, but moving on.
Yeah, it kind of is.
It's just the same thing.
They
you
were
just
like,
said
"We
it
need
in
3."
a different sentence.
Yeah.
Your third level, you get oath spells, like most of the oaths do, and you gain some new ones that are added to your paladin spell list. You get things that seem to make the most sense for somebody who is, like, on watch all the time. Like, that is the vibe of it. Like, if you're the guy who was, I'll take the first watch for the campsite tonight as you guys all sleep, the spells you would think that they would want for that. Things like alarm and counter spell, like aura.
The counter spell
purity.
is honestly the real interesting one.
Yeah,
because
counterspell
it
is one of the
allows-
beefiest ones on the list to give to a paladin.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty
sure.
sweet.
I think augury is an interesting choice, flavor-wise.
I mean, it can you can use it as your sort of like, I'm divining where the local threats are, or who to
True.
trust, that kind of stuff.
I think it's just sort of, I think of augury as reaching out to another extraplanar entity
Being.
to help you
Yeah.
out.
That's
So it
fair.
just seems weird to me, but
So-
maybe I'm interpreting it differently than
Well,
they
you don't
thought of
always
it.
have to do it that way. See, I am very much envisioning a character that's like a super doomsday prepper type person with with like a
But it's
camp,
just the doomsday is the literal
the
doomsday.
prepper paladin. I hate
with like
that.
a shamog, and he just always is like. But then he's talking to someone, and he's like, "Hold on," and he like he has such weird conspiracy theories, and he like looks at them, and he like reads some runes, and he's like, "They're good," because he just has like these weird, like your Uncle
we can
Dave.
trust him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your Uncle Dave, who's just
like
like,
licks
well,
the air.
yeah, you smell
Twist.
around them, and if they're releasing pheromones because of all the fluoride in the water that the government puts there,
No.
See, Bean,
No,
I
it
have
is-
a question.
yeah.
What the hell is a shamog?
A shamog is like the scarves that the army people wear that you get in Afghanistan.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Fair enough.
You just threw that word.
You
threw
threw
that
it out
word
there
out.
as if it was real,
They're like
Very
they kind of
brazenly.
they look hipstery, but military type dudes wear them, where they're kind
I
of
know the
all,
ones now,
They're
yeah.
drab green, they have tassels
Yeah.
and like checks on them.
Gotcha. Bean is just coming out with things none of us know anything about today.
Just
Guys,
those
I don't
deep
normally go on the
references.
side quests with you guys, so when you
This
guys
is
go
why.
on side quests, I have to
Savage.
I'm just kidding, Bean. I'm just kidding.
Look, I know that not only was I late to getting the podcast started, but I have derailed you at every minute. And I don't understand why you guys are so frustrated by that.
Normally, these are a pretty tight, like 20 to 30 minutes, and we get cruising through them. But maybe we should get to the first real feature of the class, huh? What do we think?
What if we did that?
You guys are going to regret inviting me to any of these.
Let's see. Mercy, can you read me the channel divinity here?
Sure
Third
can.
level oath. It's like a bunch of paragraphs, but, we'll stick with you through it.
Yeah, I'll carry us through this together.
Thank you.
Third level Oath of the Watchers feature is you gain the following channel divinity options. See the Sacred Oath class feature for how channel divinity works.
Yep.
Watcher's Will. You can use your channel divinity to invest your presence with the warding power of your faith. As an action, you can choose a number of creatures you can see within 30 feet of you, up to a number equal to your charisma modifier, minimum of 1 creature. For 1 minute, all the chosen creatures have advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws.
That's great. Right.
Yeah.
Your group gets a little bit better and more protected by your
And
presence.
a little more vigilant because
Yeah.
wisdom.
Yeah.
my
I mean,
dudes.
it's your that's your classic paladin thing, is that like your aura inspires people with
Yeah.
the ness of whatever your paladin is. So if you're vigilant, then your group is a bit more vigilant.
It is also interesting to note that all of these are the mental traits.
Uh-huh.
And most of the saves against these things are for mind control. Charisma is for changing your alignment. Wisdom is for literally controlling your actions. Intelligence is for damaging your mind and things like
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah.
and not only do you grant advantage on these, but as a higher level paladin too, you would eventually get your own auras that naturally boost everyone's saves in these as well by the raw number of your charisma modifier. So at a certain point, you're just saying,
We're not going to
because
fail
I'm
saving
here,
throws
none
anymore.
of your tricks will work, crazy
Yeah.
demon boy.
Demon
That's good.
lad. All right, what's the next part?
All right, then we have Abjure the Extraplanar. You can use your channel divinity to castigate unworldly beings.
Who wrote this?
Somebody who's read a book or two before, and that's good.
At least 2.
As an action, you present your holy symbol and each elemental, fey, fiend, or abjuration, which in 30...
Aberration.
I'm just going to start that
You
sentence over.
were doing really well right up until then.
I was. I got a
It's
little
some hard words.
You got
too.
the word castigate, so
But missed
you're...
it. Yeah.
I very nearly said castrate.
Yeah,
so it was
I
a
knew
real-
you did.
I really had to catch myself
I
there.
heard you not say it.
I was like, don't do it. As an action, you present your holy symbol and each elemental, fey, fiend, or abjuration.
Nope, you did it again.
Oh my gosh!
It's
And
not
I
abjuration.
emphasized
Yeah,
it.
yeah. all
Like,
right.
it's like when you
That's
get a
it, okay.
burr, you know.
We'll just start it over.
Okay.
Real quick.
As an action, you present your holy symbol and each elemental, fey, fiend, or aberration within 30 feet of you that can hear you must make a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the creature is turned for 1 minute or until it takes damage. A turned creature must spend its turns trying to move as far away from you as it can, and it can't willingly move to a space within 30 feet of you. For its action, it can use only the dash action or try to escape from an effect that prevents it from moving. If there's nowhere to move, the creature can use the dodge action.
I love the dodge action because I always just picture it as your character sort of standing there just like hopping back and forth like hoo ha ha hoo hoo ha ha, like even if no one is attacking them.
Yeah,
That's what I like to imagine.
But it's like in movies when people start shooting at people and they duck, and you're like, that's not how
Yeah.
bullets work.
Good thing I ducked. That bullet almost hit me. It's like, if it was gonna hit you, it would have.
I know that the the turned state of being, that's like,
Yeah.
turn undead.
Turn undead.
That's what that means. But I did wish in this context, I was like,
different
I
word.
wish it meant like, they've turned. Like, they're on our side now.
I don't know.
Ah.
I get there's like a tradition with the term turn, and I understand it does have this meaning, like
We gotta get rid of
archaically.
it.
But we've got to get rid of it. Every
The word
person
turn
yeah.
is used so much in D&D, and already the turned creature must spend its turns? What?
Yeah, you can't.
No.
You can't start. If the turned creature has to spend its turns or else it turns into something, I'm gonna die.
But it also depends on which direction it turns.
Also, is it a bird?
Is it an
a
Arctic turn?
An Arctic turn.
Yes. All right. So overall, though, you get a basic kind of like a turn undead, and you get a buff
You
to the
shall not
team.
pass.
Those are the two different divinities that
Yeah.
you get to channel, which are
Yep.
good. They're fine.
And
I
that's
don't have
actually-
anything huge to say about either of them
Yeah.
personally, but they're fine. They make sense.
I do want to say I did misspeak earlier that this warlock doesn't hate, or not warlock, sorry, that this paladin doesn't hate celestials. The ability doesn't work on celestials, it works on everything else.
Got it.
Elementals, fays, fiends,
Okay.
and aberration.
That makes
I mean,
Audrey and everything make more sense. They can still be
things-
aligned.
They're cool with angels,
Yeah.
just nothing else. Which
Things
seems,
that are
your
typical
racist, but-
evil creatures. Yeah.
kind of arbitrary, but
No,
okay.
Whatever. Just evil alignment means that you're evil. I mean, technically, extraplanarly, yes.
Look, we can have the discussion
Yeah, we'll get there one day, folks.
about giving individual characters alignment that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
All right,
Alignment
later.
is a whole thing.
Aura of the Sentinel, 7th and 18th level Oath of the Watcher's feature. So this will get bumped up yet again at the 18th level. We'll see how that happens here. You emit an aura of alertness while you aren't incapacitated. When you and any creature of your choice within 10 feet of you rolls initiative, you each gain a bonus to initiative equal to your charisma modifier, minimum of +1. At 18th level, the range of this aura increases to 30 feet. So originally it's literally just the person right next to you. And then at 18th level, it's like, yeah, pretty much your whole party anytime you enter combat.
Well, 10 feet is actually pretty, like a 10 feet radius around you is actually quite a lot of space. You can fit a standard party in that, no problem.
Any creature that has
If
like
you're traveling like together at the beginning of combat, you're grouped together, yes. But if you were all like on like different parts of a campsite or something,
I guess.
Yeah.
Does that mean that though? Because
Yeah,
it says
within
any
10 feet.
it says any creature, not creatures. So I don't think it can be your whole party. I think it's
No, it's-
just you and
no.
When you and any creature
Any
of
creature.
your choice.
Yeah.
So
no,
it's saying like
it's not
you
any
get-
one creature, it's any creature.
I feel wouldn't it say any creatures when you
It's
and any
an-
creatures of your
It's
choice?
an
within
aura,
10 feet
and
of
so
you?
it is always going to affect anyone of your choice within the aura. That's what it's trying to say. It's saying
Yeah.
any number of creatures of your choice.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
it would
What it's
say
trying to
a
say with that.
target creature of your choice, probably.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would it?
It would specify. Yeah.
Because when it's like fireball
probably
or something,
just a
it's any
typo in the
creature
word.
within the
Oh,
radius.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has to make a dexterity save.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's just how
it just
they don't
weirded me out
plural-
in this one
Yeah.
sentence.
They don't pluralize the creature after
Weird.
any. Yeah.
I feel like there's so much about D&D where you
Semantics.
have to like learn the secret language.
Yeah.
And
It's design language. Yeah, for sure.
and it's definitely necessary, but sometimes
People
I think
try
it
to
can
trip
be...
you up with it too.
But that's
though.
exactly the kind of
tricky.
thing where that comes up with like somebody who wants to make a rules judgment at the table mid-session. And they go, does it mean any one creature or multiple kinds of creature? And then the DM has to make a, some sort of ruling at that moment. But
Because it's like
There-
in
that
this,
might not be
in this
technically
specific
correct.
sentence, to me, it would make a lot more sense if it said any creatures of your choice, plural. But it has to be consistent. So if in
Yeah.
other situations it doesn't make more sense, like
Yeah.
I mean, essentially our job though that we've assigned ourselves for reviewing these kinds of things is semantics. If
Yeah.
someone makes a homebrew and the semantics accidentally say that you can get any one when you're only supposed to do one,
Or that if there are two monks of the same way of mercy,
they can make each other immortal forever.
Yeah.
Which
they can make each other constantly immortal.
I still don't know if that's 100% like would work, but I like to think it would.
But anyway, the semantics are important not only for gameplay, but when people are making their own homebrews, or even the people who work the company, the professionals, you gotta make sure that the intent is exactly clear. It's
Yeah.
like when you're programming a robot or a computer program. You have to put it exactly in, because maybe it'll work a bunch of times, but there's gonna be that one time where it runs the programming, and because it wasn't specific.
Yeah, one of the nice things... Oh, sorry,
That's
you go
why,
on.
that's
Emma.
why there's the semantics in the Dungeons and Dragons like metagames and in the community. There's RAI, rules as intended, and RAW, rules as written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are two literal stances people take on the way to interpret rules.
Sometimes you'll see somebody respond with, rules as intended, I think yes, you would allow it. Rules as written, I think it doesn't work. And it's like, oh, okay, interesting. Like, you can have different takes based on... I think a lot of it is based on how you as a table play, because at the end of the day, there's one rule in D&D that says it is up to the DM's discretion which of these rules actually work and which don't.
And of course,
at any given moment.
there's rule of be cool if you did.
Well, but that's not a rule. I'm saying literally there is a rule in the player's
I
handbook that says
know.
all rules contained herein are up to the purview of the DM.
The rule of cool notwithstanding.
Yes, yes, yes.
exactly.
That is its own,
Yeah,
fun
that's what
rule.
I'm saying is there's rules intended, rules as written, and rules as would be cool. So
That's fair.
do it.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next one. Onod, can you read that one for us?
Let me see, that's the 15th level.
15th level, yeah.
Vigilant Rebuke. You've learned how to magically chastise anyone who dares cast unwanted spells at you and your wards. Whenever you or a creature you can see within 30 feet of you succeeds on a saving throw against a spell, so they have to succeed,
Yep.
you can use your reaction to deal 2d8 plus your charisma modifier force damage. to the
Force
spellcaster.
damage?
Oof.
It's not like psychic damage or something? Force damage?
Or radiant, it's force damage. You're
That's
just
very
making them
interesting.
explode for some reason.
You just punch them without moving. Very interesting. I like that it's sort of the... with the Oath of Conquest Paladin, there's a bit of the, you would dare look at me? Like, take psychic damage for even deigning to attack me. And this is sort of the, like, flip version of that, where it's like, you tried to hurt my friends but failed. If you shoot for the king, you better not miss.
This is the guy that's at today it's weird similes and metaphors, but again, this is the weird guy at the bar that someone kind of comes up and like maybe pokes him a little bit, so he stands up and breaks a chair over their head, and you're like, whoa.
Oh, calm down, dude.
Like, and that's what I feel like that kind of response is. Somebody looks at you wrong, and so you like force push them off the face of the earth.
Yeah,
Woof.
it's really
Except
good.
it's literally like, I don't know, it sort of ends up feeling to me like they tried to cast a spell, it didn't work because you passed the saving
Yeah.
throw, and so it's more,
And now
it's
you're
almost like
punishing them
that
more.
magical energy couldn't, I mean, it's the old idea of like, why you have to use a wand, it's so if, the wand blows up in your hand, and I feel like it's like the magic couldn't get to its target, so you just take the full
bounces back.
force of it, yeah.
That's cool.
Well, and it is interesting to note, too, that the likelihood, because it's just with a past save, the likelihood of this happening goes up the closer that they are to you, kind of a thing, because you have those paladin auras that naturally boost all saving throws with your charisma modifier, and then you have this paladin's Watcher's Will, which gives everyone advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. So it just keeps compounding more and more the chance that a spellcaster is going to flub up trying to hit your guys, and then you're just punishing them repeatedly. Like, does it...
My only concern is that it takes your reaction.
Does it even... I was going to say, does it use your reaction?
It takes your reaction, which is kind of a bummer at the end of the day, because it means that it happens... Level. It happens most once per round, which is like...
But it is a rarely resisted form of damage. It is likely more damage than you would deal with your own melee attack. And
I mean, but you're a paladin. You smite. You do a smite.
But that's the thing, is this is mildly more damage than a normal melee attack would do in a magical damage sense, and you don't have to use your limited resources of smites to do extra damage.
That's true.
And this is also something to use when your enemies are attacking at range, making your opponents cast saving throws.
Yeah, and it helps you deal with spellcasters specifically, which are hard to get a hold of to hit with your greatsword sometimes. Yeah.
But yeah, and it's one of those things where if you're doing this, it's probably because no one is close enough for you to smack.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is the reaction of a paladin a contested, like, or do they have a lot of other reaction things that they want to be using that this would get in the way of using? Because I can't think of any, really.
The only other one is, like, paladins with, like, the sentinel feat. It's kind of the same thing that, like, fighters run with, is melee-based fighters, it's your opportunity attack. If you have the sentinel feat, you have more reasons you need your reaction. But actually, interesting for this one, this paladin has yet another reason that they need their reaction, and that's counterspell, because they have access to counterspell, and
which
so
is
they also want to keep that.
That brings up the interesting point. When do you risk the counterspell, and when do you say, you'll probably pass the save, so I'll just let it happen, and then we'll deal damage back? That's an interesting choice to make.
Not every spell requires a saving throw, so it depends.
That's true. Yeah, sometimes if it doesn't require a saving throw, maybe it might be worth counterspelling. But sometimes you don't know if your counterspell will succeed, because if it's above counterspell and you don't have the slot for it, you'll have to roll. So you might... That's, I think, a fun play space for your paladin to be like, which one is it worth doing? Do I hope they pass the save because of my aura and then we deal force damage, or do I counterspell to guarantee that doesn't work to waste their spell slot? Yeah. I don't know. That's good, though. I like that design space.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Options.
The final one. Bean, can you read to us the 20th level Oath of the Watcher feature, Mortal Bulwark?
No, I wanted to get... I'll say it. Okay.
Mortal Bulwark.
Is it bulwark?
Bulwark.
Sure. Why not?
Mortal bulwark.
I think it's like in New York where it's just pronounced bulwark.
Bulwark. Mortal. I'll do
a mortal bullock.
I'll do my New Yorker accent.
You know.
A mortal what?
Yeah, bullock.
Yeah, mortal bulwark. 20th level Oath of the Watchers feature. You manifest a spark of your deity's power in defense of your sacred oath. As a bonus action, you gain the following benefits for 1 minute. You gain true sight in a 120-foot radius. That's pretty hot. You have advantage on attack rolls against elementals, fays, fiends, aberrations, hot dogs, you name it. When you hit a creature with an attack, you deal damage to it. You also...
When you hit a creature with attack and deal damage to it.
Yeah.
When you hit a creature with an attack, you deal damage.
You deal damage. That's the feature.
That's what it is. You boom, you get in, you attack, you deal damage, you're out.
So
boom,
when
boom. Then you take the two and you go home. Okay. Sorry.
When you hit a creature with attack and deal damage.
When you hit a creature with an attack and deal damage to it, you can also force it to make a charisma saving throw. On a failed save, the creature is magically banished to its native plane of existence if it's currently not there. On a successful save, the creature can't be banished by this feature for 24 hours. So, I mean, it really is like, get thee hence. Like a true, you're not supposed to be here, you punch them out of existence of this realm.
And you can do it to,
Yeah.
like, every creature in the room. It's just that if they pass the save, it's
Yep.
not going to work on them.
You only
it
get
almost-
to try once.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
there's
would
not a
feel-
limited number. It's not once per day you get to do this.
Yeah.
It's any time.
It's during your 1 minute of, like, superpower, kind of.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
It would feel wrong if this weren't the 20th level feature.
I
like
actually
this.
Yeah.
very much like this.
Yeah, I do too.
It's
There's a final line here real quick. Once you use this bonus action, you can't use it again until you finish a long
Yes.
rest. So this ability is once per day, but during that 1 minute,
You can do it
essentially
as
one
many
combat,
times.
you can hit every creature in combat at least once and just go.
and this is
pow,
pretty
goodbye.
standard. Yeah, this is pretty standard for paladin subclass like capstones. Is they all have some form of like transformative ability that like lasts for a minute. Like the Oath of the Ancients, they like turn
They get,
into
like,
an
antlers,
animal, and they
yeah.
get like resistance to all damage and stuff like that. The Oath of Vengeance, they get like literal black angel wings or something
Yeah,
that
like
Yeah.
burst
super
out of them.
edgelord. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
really good.
So they all sort of have this transformative thing that just gives them more extra of their very own flavor, and this is just compounding on top of that even more.
I love the sort of whack-a-mole nature of it, though. You're
Mm-hmm.
walking around with your warhammer, and you're just like, goodbye, poof, goodbye, poof, and then these like demons or whatever just poofing out of existence one in a row, and then the one at the end of the line is like, wait, please no. You're like,
See, that's
"Sorry,
the thing, though.
goodbye."
I'm imagining, for efficiency's sake, when you get to this point, that you just start dual-wielding hand axes, because as long as you hit them...
Yeah, you don't
So
have to
the
hit them
more
hard.
opportunities you have to hit someone, the better it's going to be.
Oh my gosh, have you guys seen that? It's like a New Zealand video, but of this guy who's like slapping every single person at the party.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
it's like from a TV show or
Yeah,
something?
but he's like,
He like slaps a child, and then he starts slapping everyone else at the entire
Yeah.
party, and then like
Boom.
other people who start investigating like what's going on. Yeah,
and
He
if,
just keeps
and he
slapping
just
them.
is, and that's the thing though. That's all you have to do. You just
get the
have
one
to
hit.
get that one hit. You like could accidentally high five your friend too hard and like banish them from
Well,
this
that's
world.
only if they are not from here.
If
No,
your friend
and-
is an aberration, I suppose,
Your friend is an aberration, and you
or an
happen to be doing
abjuration, or an
Whatever.
abdication, whatever it is.
an adjunct faculty member. Anyway, like
Yeah. I like it. I think overall, so that's the final bit of the subclass here.
Yeah.
I think for me, overall, I think this is pretty good. It fits in well in my mind with the other Paladin Oaths. Like I said, it's got vibes of a few of them, but I think it's able to carve out its own sort of niche, specifically with this very, like, team-focused, cooperative, my team is the only ones I can trust against the oncoming tide of demons or whatever from, you know, other worlds, and we're going to get better at defending the earth from them, and you sort of become the Avengers, like all the aliens coming out of the portals, and you're like, we've prepared for this is what
Yep.
we were built for.
yep.
I think my only critique that I would have for me is I feel like until you get to the higher levels, most of the abilities don't necessarily specifically enable you to do what for me is the fantasy of this. Like a
is
lot
what?
of it, because a lot of like the channel divinities, like I want to be banishing people to like if the whole thing is like I don't like creatures that are from another plane and I want to send them there, it feels sort of like, oh, but you have to wait till level.
Well, I think
20.
it's sort of a two-phase thing, though. I think at first it's more like I just want to keep watch against these things that have snuck into our dimension and don't belong
Sure.
here. So
And then
all of
as
your
you
early
get
level
stronger-
stuff is like seeing them more often, being more resistant to them, being able to turn
Scaring
them
them away.
with your abjure the extra planar. You can turn them
Sure.
like undead, and then eventually you get the power to send them back to whence they came.
I think Abjure the Extra Planar works for me really well. That's fair.
I mean, and it's not like you can't get the banishment spell. Like you still can be.
In fact,
Doing
you
that.
explicitly get the banishment
Like, you
spell.
just
In
don't
fact,
get to do
you
it.
get it at 13th
Yeah.
level.
Oh yeah, that's
for
true.
guaranteed.
Which
So-
almost actually then makes. Well, I guess you don't have to use
You
spell
could do
slots,
both,
so that's
yeah.
why. So
You
that's
can-
why that's useful.
If you fail on your ability, you can still cast banishment.
because
on
it
the
is
creature.
basically just the banishment spell.
kind
smell.
of smell.
Man,
Smells
that
like-
smells
banishment
like
spell.
banishment. That classic.
Someone was just here, but they got banished.
that fresh banishment smell. It's kind of
I think
ozone.
Probably part of the problem is the way I'm thinking of it. I haven't spent much time playing
Paladins,
paladins.
sure.
I've played paladins a few times in a few sessions, but I haven't like done a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it. And so I'm sort of thinking of it as I was like, man, it doesn't feel as aggressive as I want it to. But a lot of it is support, and that is normal.
This is definitely a more niche paladin.
Yeah.
Than like normal, because like the paladins from the player's handbook have like almost much broader, more aggressive version. Like if you want to be a hunter and a guy who goes after his prey, you pick a paladin of vengeance. This guy's more of like the guy who's almost more reactive to the scenario. Kind of.
And that's probably why it's weirding me out, is because the only paladin I've played is a vengeance paladin. So I'm like, man, this isn't very aggressive.
So you're used to being much more violent.
Yeah.
And I think there's what's up, Bean?
No, finish, I'll say my thing.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think there's a fair comparison to draw between the town watch, the master of the town watch, and a general of an army. Like, it's not the same. This guy is the paladin master of the town watch.
Sure.
Whereas some of the other paladins feel more like frontline soldiers in an army, and that's a different vibe.
So I guess it isn't even really a criticism then. It's just was different than I expected it to be.
But that's a fair point, though, because it's like sometimes the flavor or the fantasy that you think they're pitching isn't what they are, and that's like a design that they need to be conscious of.
Well, and just you as a player need to be conscious of, why am I picking this? Is it because I want to be doing this? Then read ahead on your class abilities and come to the reality of, like, you're starting at 3rd level, so you're not going to be getting that 10th level thing for, like, a long time.
Yeah.
Or you're starting at 1st level. So, like, just keep in mind that...
Starting at 1st level? What are we, nerds?
But just keep in mind that, like, if you want to play a certain way, just lean into that. Don't be afraid to just pick the exact thing that lets you play the way that you want to. What I was going to say, here's the image of this guy. Here's what he actually is. I'm saying it's a guy. It could be any person. But he's not. I mean, maybe he could have a shamag, but he's not the out there army shamag guy.
If he doesn't have a shamag, what's he even doing here?
I know.
What's he even doing with his life? Pull it together.
But, no, what it is, this is the guy, like the Cold War guy with all the computers and screens in his, like, basement.
More like all the radios.
Yeah, like the guy from Stranger Things, kind of. That you
Russians.
go to him.
Yeah.
You go to him, and he's like, oh, hold on, and you go in his house, and he's got screens everywhere.
That's great.
And radio, and he's monitoring everything. And he's not necessarily the one who's out there. He's the one who knows how to get it done, and knows how to send people there and inspire people, but also at the end of the day, he might just be the one who has to, like, get the bat off the wall and be like, fine, I'm the only one that knows they're there, I'll just go stop them myself. So
what I really like about this idea is that you can play it any level of, like, on the spectrum of if they're actually correct or not. Because if they are correct and there is a demonic infestation of the kingdom, then they're like the hero that everyone needs. If they're wrong, and it's just in their head or something, then they're just like this insane person who's like probably not good aligned at all at this point, because they're probably like the kind of person who's like, it doesn't matter what sacrifices we have to make in morality as long as we prove that there was evil here. And that's how you lead into like Spanish Inquisition stuff.
It's interesting because mechanically, like with Abjure the Extraplanar, you do have to be right that they are extraplanar.
Sure,
but that doesn't mean they're bad.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And one thing that I think would be really fun to roleplay with it is under loyalty, like never accept gifts or favors from fiends. You can just never accept gifts or favors from people who your character thinks are fiends.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the same thing. You keep trying to banish people and they're like not fiends, and you're like, wait a minute.
You bop a dude over the head and you're like, back to hell. And he's like, okay.
And then you're like, Satan is protecting him. My worldview is correct.
I'll just have to bludgeon him to death the old-fashioned way. Uh-oh.
Or people are like, is he a fiend? And you're like, hold on, and you slap him and he stays there and you're like, nah, we're good.
The ultimate test. Let me activate my god mode. Okay, I'm going to slap him and see what happens.
And while we're here, I'm just going to test this on all of you. Hold still.
It'll only take a minute.
Also, I have 120-foot true sight and I can see through time now.
Also, they go to pet your familiar and your familiar like poofs away and you're like, oh, sorry.
Not again.
Technically, yes. Like you can summon. I think it's like find steed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Find steed you can choose that the creature
You go to
be
pat
fey.
your horse and he disappears and you're like, nah! All right, very good.
That's fun.
Then you just have to spend a second level spell slot to get it back.
Hey, oh my gosh, we're trying to have a funny image here, and
No,
you're coming in with the reality.
That's very dangerous.
You can spend
for
a second level
paladins.
spell slot to find a new steed, but that original one, he's gone.
Forever.
It's like a token in Magic the Gathering. It's gone as soon as it leaves the field. It's never... A new one can come back, but it's a different one.
It's like, I've had followers die in Skyrim and be like, oh, dang it, and keep going. But my horse dies, I'm like, reload the save, reload the save.
Reload the save.
Well, you only get so many of those.
Yeah.
Where did little butter toast go?
Look, I got followers coming out of my butt. I got horses.
Horses, there's a limited number. That's
I
why
have to buy
that's why I've
those.
made my mod, and thank you all for coming to my podcast where I pitch Skyrim mods that I've thought of. More horses for Skyrim. It adds like 800% more horses to the game. Like most towns are nothing but horses now. That's the
Every
mod.
villager you talk to is riding a horse, and the pathing
Jarl
is not
Balgruuf
great.
is just a horse sitting in the chair.
Parthenax is a horse.
But same
Dovahkiin.
size, but all the dragons are horses now.
Croesus. All right, that's the oath of the Watchers for the Paladins.
Yeah.
Listeners, let us know what you thought about it. Do you think this is a path you'll be using in an upcoming game? How do you think this? If you had a Paladin, where would they rate on the scale of conspiracy theorist to prepper who's ready for the end times? Let us know what you think in
You
the
just
comments.
said the same thing twice.
Oh, nice, got him.
There's only one scale. They're coming after you. Put the tinfoil on your head. Grab your shamag. Let's go. We only have so much time.
Can we put tin in the shamag and save on, like, we can combine this into
You
one
don't
thing?
think I have an RFID line shamag? Are you kidding me?
A lead-lined shamag. Come on. I have to protect from the microwaves. All right. Like the video if you want, I guess. Subscribe to the channel. How do we always get to the point?
Dislike it if that's a more accurate representation of your feelings.
How do we always get to the point where I'm ashamed to ask for a like on the video? I guess like it if you want, but we don't deserve it at this
But
point.
if this video gets likes, we're gonna be disappointed in you guys. We'll be like, what are you guys doing with your lives?
Subscribe for more Dungeons & Dragons homebrew discussion content. That's what we make. It's a long name, and it's a very niche crowd, but
and that's
what
why
we
you're
make.
all here and why you love it.
That's why you're
Hey,
all
right?
diehard fans.
The more
Right,
niche,
right. You
the
guys
more
like it?
niche you
Right,
get, the
please.
more records you break.
And we'll see you on the next side quest, because this one's over, and nobody even died.
Hey.
Yeah.